Mercedes Mone has finally broken her silence on WWE's decision to bring back the long-anticipated Evolution 2 pay-per-view, and what she said is turning heads across both the WWE and AEW fandoms, during a subscriber-only Instagram live chat, of course. Leaked like wildfire to social media, Mone opened up about the long gap since WWE's first-ever all-women's event back in 2018, and gave her brutally honest thoughts about the motivations behind WWE's scheduling. Her comments weren't just about celebration, they carried an undertone of skepticism and competitiveness that adds even more fuel to the fire between the two wrestling giants. Mone, now the reigning TBS champion in AEW, still maintains strong ties to her WWE past. She was a massive part of the women's revolution that eventually led to the original Evolution pay-per-view in 2018, which was headlined by Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella. So when a fan asked her about the sequel event, she didn't hesitate to weigh in. She responded, "Any thoughts about Evolution 2? I think it's about time. They waited way too long to have an all-women's pay-per-view event, but I love and will always support and be a huge advocate for women's wrestling. So, I'm excited for that, for the women that get to go and perform on that." That alone is newsworthy. But Mone didn't stop there. Another fan dug into her brief but memorable feud with Dr. Britt Baker, asking whether that storyline might ever be revisited. Mone's reply was as sharp as it was direct. "Well, if the DMD wants a back adjustment, she knows where to find me in my locker room. Make sure you knock on the door first before entering. I'm going to call security and then the cops." That line immediately blew up among wrestling circles, not just for the sass but for the suggestion that Mone isn't done with Britt Baker, far from it. Whether or not that comment leads to a new feud is yet to be seen, but it definitely has fans buzzing about potential future AEW matchups. Meanwhile, the return of WWE Evolution 2 is happening under very interesting circumstances. WWE has decided to drop not just one, but multiple events on the same weekend as AEW's All in Texas event. On Saturday night, WWE is airing a new edition of the Great American Bash, followed by Evolution 2 on Sunday. That's a clear signal that WWE is not just resurrecting Evolution to honor its women's division. There's some serious strategic scheduling going on. AEW's All in Texas has been a heavily promoted show for months, and WWE dropping multiple events right on top of it isn't a coincidence. Let's be real here, WWE isn't suddenly deciding to celebrate women's wrestling again after nearly 7 years because of some feel-good moment. They're doing it to apply pressure on AEW. They want to flood the weekend with WWE content, saturate the market, and divide the audience's attention so heavily that AEW's numbers take a hit. That's not speculation, that's the very nature of counterprogramming, something WWE has been accused of many times before. Of course, not all of WWE's moves this weekend are likely to be effective. The Great American Bash, for instance, has been criticized already for having a very underwhelming card. Ticket sales for that event are reportedly poor, and fan enthusiasm seems low. On the other hand, Evolution 2 seems to be generating more buzz, both because of the significance of its return and because the match card looks more promising. But even with that, it's clear WWE's strategy isn't really about selling tickets. It's about drowning out AEW by sheer volume and visibility. WWE knows that if they offer enough content, back-to-back shows with recognizable branding, some fans will opt to stay within the WWE ecosystem for the weekend instead of flipping over to AEW. They're betting on fatigue and brand loyalty. They're hoping that if fans are already watching the Great American Bash on Saturday and Evolution 2 on Sunday, they won't carve out time for AEW's All in Texas in the middle of that. It's not about quality, it's about quantity and timing. But will it actually work? That's where things get more complicated. AEW does have a solid, passionate fanbase. Tony Khan himself often refers to them as sickos, the diehards who will tune in no matter what, no matter when, and there's truth to that. AEW might lose some casual viewers during direct competition with WWE, but their core audience is remarkably loyal. These are fans who don't just prefer AEW, they believe in it, they advocate for it, and they'll watch it live, even if WWE is offering something shinier at the same time. History has shown that when WWE and AEW go head-to-head, like when Collision runs opposite a premium live event, AEW does take a hit in the ratings, but it's not always as drastic as expected. The AEW fanbase often sticks with their product, or they'll find ways to watch both. There isn't a total overlap in audiences, despite what WWE might think. Sure, there's crossover, but for the most part, WWE fans and AEW fans have developed into separate, tribal factions. So, Is WWE's plan to run back-to-back shows around AEW's All in Texas really going to hurt AEW? It might cause a dent, but it's not likely to cause any long-term damage. AEW isn't going anywhere, and WWE isn't suddenly reclaiming all the attention. If anything, WWE's aggressive scheduling has made it more obvious that they're worried. This isn't a confident company just showcasing its women's division. This is a defensive move meant to control the weekend wrestling narrative. And Mercedes Mone, being the veteran that she is, knows exactly what's happening. Though she didn't explicitly call WWE out for their counter-programming strategy, probably because she's too smart to get dragged into that kind of drama, her support for women's wrestling doesn't erase the underlying tensions. She knows WWE's move has layers to it. There's a celebration on the surface, but a competitive power play lurking just underneath. While Mone focuses on her upcoming showdown with Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship, she clearly has one eye on what's happening over in WWE. The fact that she responded so candidly about Evolution 2, and then tossed a little shade at Britt Baker in the process, proves that she's aware of every narrative thread being woven across both companies. That's what makes her such a compelling figure right now. She straddles the line between legacy and future, between revolution and evolution. As for her match with Toni Storm, it's shaping up to be a massive moment in AEW's women's division. Many fans and analysts believe that Mone is likely to win, finally capturing AEW's top women's title and solidifying her spot at the very top of the promotion. It would also mark a pivotal point in her post-WWE career, showing that she didn't just leave to be part of something new, she left to lead it. So, while WWE tries to reclaim attention with nostalgic returns and flooded weekends, AEW continues pushing forward with compelling storytelling and dream matches. And right in the middle of it all is Mercedes Mone, speaking her truth, taking names, and hinting at future confrontations that could shake both promotions to their core. Whether or not Britt Baker decides to step back into the ring with Mone remains to be seen. Baker has been out of action for months, dealing with injuries and personal issues. But Mone's locker room comment wasn't just a playful jab, it was an invitation. And if Baker is watching, and of course she is, she knows now that Mercedes Mone hasn't forgotten anything. The spark is still there, and when the timing is right, the match will be 2. In the end, what Mercedes Mone said matters not just because of the words themselves, but because of the timing, the context, and the target. WWE's Evolution 2 might be framed as a celebration of women's wrestling, but it's also a chess move in a much larger game. And Mercedes Mone, whether she's in the ring, on social media, or backstage with a microphone in her hand, knows exactly how to play that game. So as the weekend approaches and both WWE and AEW prepare to go to war for the wrestling world's attention, fans are watching every move, every promo, and every match. Mone's comments are just the latest shot fired in a rivalry that stretches beyond brands and into something deeper, a battle for loyalty, legacy, and the future of professional wrestling itself.